Welcome to the Pest Control Millionaire, where we talk about strategies and tactics so you guys can go create your own $1 million pest control business. Today, I have one of my new friends. I met him recently in the past week. He's a stud. Actually, one of our friends introduced together, said, hey, you two need to chat. You need to get Jared on the podcast. And so I said, absolutely, let's connect. Connected with him just as I was leaving to go to dinner. So I reached back out to him, like, hey, you really want to do this? He said, heck yeah. So Jared's a stud. He's got a hell of a company going on down there, but I'll let him tell you more about it. Again, Jared, welcome to the show, and I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Jonas, so much for getting me on, man. I really appreciate it. Met you down there in Tampa at Pest Daily's event. That was a great event, man. It was great. So anyway, Jared Lajaunie, I'm the founder and owner of Lajaunie's Pest Control. We service all of Southeast Louisiana. We do what we call a bayou region. We service New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and the North Shore or Slidell, Covington area of Southeast Louisiana. We've been in business 15 years now, and we've been fortunate enough to scale to about 65 employees. And we have a BHAG, man, a big BHAG. We're trying to get within the next 7 to maybe 8 years where we got a BHAG of 25 million. So we have a big goal we're shooting for.
I love it. Why don't you take us back? So Jared, if you were in high school, right? You now are sophomore, junior in high school. Who was Jared back in the day?
Oh man, a junior in high school, man, that is a good question. I played football in high school, right? But I wasn't really very good. So I wasn't a jock, but played football just because I think all my cousins and everybody did. So I kind of just played football. I actually dropped out of high school in 11th grade, actually. And actually started with Arkin when I was 19 years old.
Aha. Got it. So when you dropped out of high school, did you drop out because you didn't like school? Maybe you had some bad habits? Like what was your upbringing like?
Oh man, so my mom and dad own a salvage yard, and when I was growing up, my dad was always involved in different entrepreneurial things, right? Like I remember being a kid, he was in Amway.
Dude, my dad was Market America, so I get it.
There you go. So my family's always had an entrepreneurial spirit a little bit, and so I think that's kind of where that came from.
That's really cool. And so you started off Orkin right away. What made you go to Orkin route? Like, were you just...
Man, so I got married when I was 19 and had my first kid at 19. And quite frankly, I don't think I had this conversation with a lot of people. I don't know if anybody ever dreams of, I'm going to be a pest control guy one day, right?
No.
But in my situation, I had a new wife and a new kid and I needed a job. And I put applications and Arkin hired me as a termite tech for $10 an hour. And I was super excited and I needed a job. And I went to work for him and went through the ranks, right? Started as a termite tech, became a pest control tech, salesman, sales manager, branch manager. Just went through the ranks with him.
Gotcha. And how long were you at with Orkin for?
I was with Arkin for about, maybe about 5 or 6 years, maybe 7. And then I got recruited by a local company to go and run a small $1 million operation in the town I was operating in. So I left Arkin to go manage that company. And I did that for about 2 years. And then in January 1st, 2008, I started my own.
Gotcha. So the transition from Orkin, obviously you learned a ton working from those guys. You brought that experience to the next company. What made you leave Orkin to go work for that smaller local company?
Man, you are asking some questions that are so. I have to throw this out before I get into the real answer because I'm so thankful for Arkin. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today without Arkin. They're industry leaders, and every branch is different, and it all starts with leadership, right? It rises and falls with leadership. However, I won't get too much into details of it because at one time I was an Arkin guy. I drank the Kool-Aid. Like I was all Arkin, like lived, breathed it, and fought for it. But there were some things that happened I won't dig into that I didn't find had high integrity, and I did not like in that particular branch. And it persuaded me to take this other opportunity, leading this other small company for a very huge pay cut, to be honest.
That was my next question. I'm sure you took a massive pay cut to go work for that company because they're relatively small.
It's funny how God lines things up, because I don't think I could have ever done what I'm doing now and starting my own company if I wouldn't have had the experience of completely running another company for somebody else. Because although Arkin taught me a lot, I probably learned more in 2 years about actually how to run a business from going to that other small company. Even though it was a huge pay cut, it was much more valuable in the long run for me.
Explain that to me. So, like, give me some tangible items there. Were you running the P&L at that point?
Yeah. So at Arkin, at the branch manager level, you are turning in P&Ls, some business stuff. But when you're with a big carpenter, you're under the umbrella of that company, right? You have a big budget. You have a regional manager. It kicks up. You have a bunch of help, and you're working for a conglomerate, right? When you go to $1 million company, you're it. So you're doing everything, right? You're dealing with the employees. This company was one of them old school companies. They didn't even have KPIs. He wasn't even doing a P&L. I had to create all that,
probably no software, probably all on paper and pen.
They had no software. Everything was paper. There were no contracts. I think at the time that company, they were still $20 a month, and the techs were scheduling, and if somebody was like, "Oh, don't come today," they were like, "No problem." I skips. It's a long story, but anyway, it wasn't the best. We over the years we got it turned around in that small company, but when we got there, it was much different than Arkin. That's all I can say. It was hard-learned lessons that really helped me when I started my own company.
For sure. So you worked there for 2 years. Were you able to grow that company as you were there?
Yeah, we were able to scale that one to, I think, about 2.5 to 3 in that 2-year point. And they sold many years back now.
Gotcha. I'm going to switch it up for a little bit because I have a question, and we're in a good spot. I have a question from a listener, and he is 33 years old. He's been working for this company for 5 years. Kind of what you said. It's kind of old school. There's no systems. There's no KPIs. Owner's thinking about retiring in 5 years, but he's stuck. He's ready to bootstrap his own. Go and start, he's got a kid, got a wife. So I said, do you have any money saved? So he got a little money saved to go do this. His wife makes good money, so financially they're okay. Does he wait? And the question was, does he wait the 5 years to buy his current employer out? Or does he go hustle his way through? I said, I'll let you answer this before I give you my response.
Can I thank that guy for that question? I'm going to try to not be too long on this, but he's really just hitting on my heartbeat. One of the things I love to do is try to encourage other entrepreneurs because it's been so life-changing for me. So I don't know his opportunity to buy out the other guy or what that is. If I knew more details, I could explore that.
Yeah, they're roughly 600 to 800,000 revenue.
Yeah. So, if he has an opportunity to negotiate that and make that happen, it'd be a great jump start for him. And if the guy's willing to work with him and he can go that route, great. But it's been my experience, especially if it's a family-owned business, man, that's going to be difficult. Negotiating that, it could just be a cluster. And, there's a lot of stuff I'd have to know before I could really tell him to do that. So I'm going to go this route, not having all the information there. I'm going to say, just do it. Go for it. It's going to be hard. It would be worth it. It's going to take longer than he thinks, cost more than he thinks, and be much more difficult than he thinks. But, you have to do it. You have to jump out there, man. If you're ever going to break through that ceiling, you have to take those chances. You have to jump. It's scary, but you have to go for it. I never forgot when I was first going into business, I went and talked to my pastor, and I was so scared. I was like, man, should I do this? Should I do that? And he's like, Jared, if you take this and you go out on your own, I cashed in my 401k from Arkin and bootstrapped it from the ground up, right? That's how I got started. And he was like, if you fail, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I was like, man, well, if I try this and I fail, the only thing that happens when I really thought about it is I'm right back where I was at. I can go get another job with Arkin or Terminex. So if I fail, basically I've been pretty poor most of my life. And if I fail, I'll just be poor again. I'll just still be poor. Not a whole lot to lose. there, right? The best thing that can happen is you try and you push through and you have success. And man, the older we get, the more difficult it is to have that ambition to push forward. So you're 33, man, do it. Go for it. It's going to be hard, but man, get it. Go try. At least try. You'll at least sleep better, even if you fail, which I'm not saying you will. But even if you fail, you'll feel better having tried and failed than never tried at all.
I love that answer. And this kind of ties us right back to where we left off. Now you're at this small company, did $1 million, got a 2.5. Now you're going to say, hey, I'm going to go start my own. Again, we know how hard it is from day one. Like those first 2-3 years are brutal. Walk us through that, because this is right where he's going to be at.
Yeah. So, I mean, man, the first days, right? You go buy a used truck, you throw some magnets on the truck. You don't have a lot of money. So, I mean, you're really bootstrapping everything. That's really where it gets tough. And then you go from having a paycheck to where if you don't create some money, you have no paycheck. So it's scary. But I tell you what, it's one heck of a motivator to go and do it. And if you have a wife and a kid, man, it's so scary. But you're either going to do one thing. You're either going to succumb to the fear, or you're going to be super motivated and you're going to go out there to get it. And you can either let the fear shut you down, or you can choose to use it as motivation and go out there and grind. But what I've done is, I hit all the, in Louisiana, it's a law that you have to have a slab pre-treated before you build a house. So I really just relentlessly called every contractor in my town and basically begged them to let me do their pre-treats. No kidding. And door knocked every day. When I was with Arkin at one point, I worked with a door knocking team. And so I had a lot of experience door knocking, knowing how to door knock. So for the first year or two, I mean, I did it just like I was taught with that splat team back in the day. I didn't have the money to hire door knockers, so I personally door knocked. I mean, I know you do some door knocking. So, I mean, I gridded it out. I had the maps. I mean, I did it, right? Door knocked, hung door hangers, stopped at every business. I mean, you know the story, man. You really just got to wake up every day, put your uniform on, even when you have nowhere to go, and find somewhere to go, and just do that every day until your phone starts ringing so much that you don't know what to do with it, right?
So your first year, you're hustling. At what point does it start to get a little easier on you? When did you get your first technician?
Man, first of all, hire your first technician. Don't do nothing but make it harder. That's when your problems start, is when you hire your first employee. It's a grind until you get to that point, but it's actually easier when you're by yourself. Once you start hiring your first employee or your first people, now you're really starting to have fun, and it gets really hard and complicated. And then once again, you're going to make less money when you start hiring people than you do when you're working by yourself. But if you have a mindset of wanting to grow, that's what you have to do, right? And for me, I really had a conversation of, am I going to be a one-man op, or I'm going to scale? And for me, it was the fear of, I can make a good living as a one-man operator, but if I get sick or I get hurt or something happens, I am this company. And if something happens to me, I have no company. I'm over with. So that fear drove me to scale and hire employees. And probably when I was about at, I want to say maybe 350 or 400,000, I hired my first employee. And my first employee actually was an office manager, because that was my weakness. I was good at sales and technical and operations. I was weak at the office manager. So my first hire was an office manager.
I love that. And now here's the second question to respond to what you said about hiring your first employee. Is it easier to run a big company, or is it easier to run a small company?
So it's easier now, today, like right now, like this year. Okay. It's still very hard and very difficult. I don't know if it ever gets easy, right? As long as you have the weight and the responsibility of it, it's always going to be some pressure and it's going to be difficult. But yes, as you scale, if you do it the right way, if you put the right people in the right place with the systems, if you're able to disconnect yourself from your business and actually manage it from a high level and pull yourself out that day to day, which is very difficult for founders, and any founders out there know what I'm talking about. That's one of the hardest things you can do. If you can do those things, it becomes easier. If you can't, it'll just suck you in deeper and deeper, and it will feel like it's just getting harder and harder. Does that make sense?
Sure makes sense to me. And I agree. I agree with you, because at this point in my career, it's way easier to run the business than it used to be as a smaller company, where people think like, oh, it's so hard. Like, why would I want to get bigger? It's going to be even harder. For a while, like you said, Jared, it is harder to get to a point where you start getting some infrastructure and develop some really good people and get the leaders in place. And it gets a lot easier. Again, we still have struggles, like you said. Our problems are a lot bigger than they used to be. They cost us a lot more money if we do make mistakes. So there's things like that. But I agree with you. Now, when you're building your team out and you're going to scale, what have been your most important key hires for yourself?
For me, along the way, my second hire was a termite tech because, that's hard labor and I didn't want to do it anymore. Right. In Louisiana, we do a lot of termite work. So at the time, it was a lot of digging trenches, crawling underneath houses. I hired a termite tech. But on the big scale, as we grew, what really made the difference once we got past, of course, it's a lot of work and scale. You hire your termite tech, your pest control techs, and that's your people, that's your culture, there's your business. But what really, as we got bigger, what made more of an impact was the people I added to my leadership team. So like right now we have a director of operations, we have an HR guy, I have a sales manager, I have an inside sales manager. So I have a team of about, let me get the right number, about 6 of us, including my wife, who still acts as the acting CEO of Lajaunie's. And those 6 people, we were always intentional on our hires, but we really took our time to get the right people in those seats, and having that leadership team and empowering them made the biggest impact in helping us scale and making it easier, quite honestly.
So you said seats. You guys follow like EOS or something?
We do follow EOS. Yep.
Yeah. So do we. Definitely one of those game changers for us too, right? Did you hire an implementer?
Dude, yeah, we did. I'm an EOS fan right now. They call me the visionary. So I'm still learning how to be a visionary. But like most true visionaries, when you first get into EOS, which I'm a big fan, I recommend it. It's terrible because for me, it didn't move fast enough. It tried to put me in a structure, which I hate, right? And it held everyone else accountable. So it took me a couple of years to really buy into EOS. But over time, I wish I'd have started earlier because it really did help us have structure, hold accountability in our team, and help move us forward. So I highly recommend the EOS program.
So your wife is acting CEO and you're president / visionary?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, she's the integrator. I'm the visionary. She's the integrator.
Gotcha. And what roles are you over? Do you have any role, like any seats that you're over still?
Not right now, man. I recently kind of pulled back out of the business, and probably for the first time in my life, maybe in my life, or at least since I started my company, I kind of just for the last 6 months kind of pulled out and been like doing some waking up, like reading the 5 a.m. club. I'm waking up at 5 o'clock. I'm working out. I'm reading my Bible. I'm meditating.
So a miracle morning.
Yeah, I'm joining like a bunch of social groups. I'm getting out and networking, kind of doing that kind of stuff, and not really in the day-to-day of the business. I still meet with my leadership team once a week, and I'm in those meetings, but that's about it. And I still meet once a week with my wife. We do a one-on-one, the same page, kind of share my ideals and the direction I want the company to go. But I'm very fortunate as of this moment, I'm not in the day-to-day right now.
It's awesome. Good for you. Congratulations. You said you're starting to network a lot more, getting your face out there, probably while you're doing some podcasting. What's the take on that?
So I just, I don't know, man. I just enjoy the networking. So like I joined the local Thibodeau chamber.
I saw that. Cool.
I joined the B&I group. I'm joining entrepreneurs organization, EO. We just got into, or I think we're about to go in another group called Associated Pest, which I'm really excited about. We hired a director of operations who used to run a small company in Baton Rouge that sold out to the big boys. And he was in that Associated, and he's excited we're getting in that. And just a way to still be able to contribute to the business and network and help build our reputation. And also give back, like being on the chamber and other organizations like that. I'm able sometimes to find some young entrepreneurs and mentor them and help them. And I really just enjoy doing that.
Me too. I love that. One of my favorite parts about where I'm at today. We were at the energy event last week, and there's a lot of great speakers. What was your top few takeaways, would you say, from that conference?
It was being in the room with those people, first of all. I mean, you were there. It was what I found to be the giants of our industry, right? I mean, they had, the Truly Nolan CEO in there, Sertis, you were there. I mean, these guys were doing 100, I think one guy, $170 million in revenue. And a couple of guys I met doing 25, 30, $40 million in revenue. So it was really cool to be in the room, and I did a lot more listening than talking, right? Like I was just absorbing it. So I had it was inspirational, a lot of motivation, and just a lot of ideals. But I found like everybody kind of said the same thing in a different way from that conference. They all just said integrity first, which is one of our core values in Lajaunie's, and we take it serious. Love your people, build into your people, help them in their career, grow them, help them have success. Make decisions on your data and KPI. Don't make your decisions emotionally. If you don't know your data and your KPIs and you're just making emotional decisions and you don't know where you're going, can't do that. And then something else that was said that stuck with me too is, although we want to love our people and build into them, a weakness for me has always been holding on to the wrong people too long, because I just love people so hard.
Most of us as CEOs are that way.
Yeah, I'll just love people. So Seth said, that's you want to do that. But the minute you're putting 50% into somebody and they're putting 49%, move on from that person. You can never care about somebody's career or life more than they do, right? So if they're trying to grow and they're working with you, put your all into them. But the minute that they're 49 and you're 50, move on to somebody else that has that equal passion and wants to grow for the willingness that you're willing to put into them.
Fire, dude, I love that. You have something that's on your wall, or at least on your Facebook page, that we talked about the conference as well. And I'm actually the one who responded to the person who asked the question. And you said you're customer service centric. It just happens to be great at killing bugs. And they're like, they asked the question, they're like, what industry are you guys in? I said, we're in the customer service industry that just happens to do pest control. I've been saying this for 10 years.
Me too. Like we say that all the time. We live it, breathe it. We are a customer service company that just happens to be really good at killing bugs. And you know as well as me, man, everybody likes to say, oh, we're the best. We are the best bug killers. We're the best. Well, we're all good. Let's just be honest. If we're not good at killing bugs, you're not going to be in business long, right? So although I'm not a guy that you do have to be good at killing bugs, and we spend a lot of money, time, and effort making sure we are. But we're actually more focused on the people, the customer experience, the customer service, right? That's what we try to focus on more than just being the best bug killers out there.
I love that. And then for the listeners, can you, maybe you and I both, can you give them some tangible items to take away from the customer service in every touch point that maybe have with your technicians or your CSRs or emails or text messages?
There's so much. So of course, we're using training and talking about energy and smiling when on the phone. It all starts on the front lines with that CSR, hiring the right person, making sure they're friendly. We over communicate with email and text. We're big on appearance with our technicians as far as being dressed properly, clean trucks, right? Friendly technicians. One cool thing we do, I think that's a little different, is after every stop we do the outside, our technicians record a video on their cell phone and text a video of them standing in front of that customer's house saying, hey, Miss Jones, thank you for your business. We knocked down your wasp nest or killed some fire ants in your yard today. Have a nice day. Text that video to the customer after every stop, and we hold them accountable to doing that. We'll send gifts to customers at different touch points. We'll send swag, socks, cookies, whatever. We guarantee same day service, both on initials and callbacks. We guarantee it, right? And I could go on, but we really are trying to do all kind of things to be mindful of making the best customer experience possible.
I love that. And those same days, whether it's a callback or whether it's an initial, they can add up fast. So to stay on top of that is hard enough on itself. So that's great. And we try to do the same thing. Ours is within 24 hours. So if they call at 5 o'clock, we'll be there by 5 o'clock the next day. That's just our guarantee as well. So I love that you guys are doing that. When it comes to skips, because you brought it up earlier, and then I'll switch gears after this. When it comes to skips, you talked about it a little bit. How do you guys handle skips? Because even though you guys are in the South and it's wintertime, people still think it's winter, it's cold, there's not as many bugs. How do you guys handle that? What do you guys do there?
Charlie Munger, who recently passed away, said, "Show me your incentive and I'll show you your result." So we incentivize completion rate for our techs. If they get, I think, a 96% completion rate, we'll bonus them. But really, since we have gone we won't take a customer without a card on file. If they don't put a card on file, they're not our customer. And I know that we may lose some customers, but not everybody is my customer, first of all, right? And so all our stops have a card on file. We do quarterly, billed monthly. And honestly, since we've done that program, man, we don't have a lot of skips. It's very few. Not like the old days where, you would go and they pay after you do the service. If you're still running it like that, skips are going to be a problem. All you can do with that is at a certain point, show up, try to talk to the customer. But ultimately, if they turn you away, there's nothing you can do. But when that card's on file, they're paying you on the first and you call them, they've already paid you. They want you to come. There's no skips. And even if they do skip, I'm still paid anyway. Great. Please skip. I wish everybody skipped. I'm still getting paid. I wish, I don't even care about skips anymore.
But you hear it all the time, right? With people like, how do you handle skips? I'm like, well, we don't really handle them. Of course, we get some, especially in the middle of winter. Like we're still billing them monthly, whether they like it or not. But they're going to just hold off the service till spring. Like they don't see the value, even though we try to educate them as the customer. Like they still don't always see the value and want to push it off. So we just do. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit because I saw something that's super interesting on your website and Facebook as well. The Sterapure germ thing. What's that about? Was that a COVID thing?
That's a great question, man. So I sometimes can chase the shiny things. Over the years, I've done that business. I've done a demolition business. I've done an estate sale business. It's an entrepreneur's disease. Don't do it. Stick with what you know. That's my advice. But the Sterapure thing's actually a win. So actually, I call it a God thing because 6 months before the pandemic hit, I started a company called Sterapure, which was doing electrostatic disinfecting. I started that 6 months before the pandemic. My whole leadership team laughed at me. They called me crazy, and I had maybe like 10 customers. My wife would be like, "Oh, that's a cute little thing, that little Sterapure. That's awesome." And the pandemic hit. My dad was in the hospital with COVID, ironically. And I was sitting on the sofa. I never forget, he had got off a cruise. It was right when the pandemic was starting to really get in full swing. I called my sales manager and I said, "Hey, man, I want you to email every single one of our customers in our customer base my Sterapure service of electrostatic disinfecting." He sent that email, and 20 minutes after he sent that email, for the next year and a half or maybe even 2 years, we were off to the races. My phone immediately started ringing. That Sterapure business did, I think, $2 million in 6 months. And we got opportunities to work with companies I could have never dreamed to work with. And it was just a total God thing. I can't take credit for it. It was amazing. It's died off now since the pandemic's died. We've kind of just it doesn't do much of it anymore. But during that season, man, it was just amazing. It was like being, we were ready to go for anybody else. So I always say it was like being the only pest control company in your town for like a year. Imagine if there was nobody else but you that could do something that was in high demand for a year. That's what we captured with Sterapure in a season. It was amazing.
Yeah. What are the odds of you starting 6 months prior to the pandemic, not knowing it? Also, that's
you
wild.
Wouldn't believe me, but I'm a Christian. I'm a praying man. I literally had a dream. I'm not joking. I know that sounds crazy, and I'm not trying to be all like out there, but I literally had a dream. Started it, took a lot of slack, and then 6 months, and we were ready to go, right? We had the infrastructure, we had the equipment, I had a backlog of product, we had our marketing, we had a website. So we literally were prepped. And this was before anybody else was doing it. There wasn't even a thought of doing commercial disinfecting. So when it hit, we were on the forefront of it and were able to capitalize in a way that was just amazing.
Yeah, walk me through that. So were you guys just using your backpack foggers, or what were you guys doing in there?
No, man. We ended up using the Victory electrostatic sprayers, but even before that, ESS was a company, the big ones with the big batteries, and we were using those. We were using vital oxide, right? And I mean, we really got technical into it. We were taking bacteria readings. We really got, I mean, we were doing stuff with like big oil fields and big manufacturers. Like I said, some big giant companies that would have never gave me a shot at Lajaunie's Pest Control, first of all, but they were letting me come in and spray disinfectant all over. I was like, this is crazy.
Wild. So now on the back to pest control, are you guys using like spray rigs still? For termites pest control, are you using more battery powered stuff? Are you going more baits for termites? You still doing the foundation sprays?
Yeah, so we've gone through the whole gamut of all that, but as it sits right now, where we're staying, we're mostly using the flow zones backpacks for the outside for perimeter pests, and mostly Trelona ATPS on the outside. We still do have the ability to do liquid. We'll spot treat liquid, but we 95% of the time are just trying to run Trelona ATPS with the yearly annual renewal. Yeah, well, we own 3 of those injection machines, and we used that for a while. We still have them, and we'll use them sometimes. But yeah, the reason I bring that up is because I was a termite tech when I started, remember? And there were many days when I was out there digging trenches saying, man, I wish somebody would have, they got to be an easier way to do this than physically digging this trench. So when they came out with that injection machine, I was all over. I was like, I remember digging these trenches. I'm going to get my guys these injection machines. And they came with their own challenges, and we don't use them so much right now. But for a season, we really were heavy in doing that injection machine.
Yeah, that's cool. For marketing purposes, for maybe someone just starting out, or maybe they're at their first $1 million in revenue or trying to get there. What marketing tactics have you guys been using, and what's been working really well for you guys in your area?
Marketing, there is no silver bullet. Everybody's looking for that Hail Mary or that silver bullet. Nothing exists. It's everything. If you're going to truly have success, you have to put in the work. You have to constantly be watching it, constantly changing it, constantly watching what's happening with it. It's very difficult. But to something more practical, I guess, digital, right? We do a lot of GLS, a lot of Google ads. We do a lot of social media, and that's probably where we get the bulk of our leads from right now, is from those efforts. But, we're also combining that with billboards, TV advertisement. We wrap all our trucks. We have customer referral programs. We have employee referral programs. We have salesmen that just hunt, right? So, and to have the success, it takes all of that coming together and into one thing. There's not one thing that's just gonna get it done.
Yeah, for sure. Jared, you're an absolute beast of a dude. And I can tell. And we haven't talked a lot in the past, but I can just tell you're someone who gets it, right? Did you hire a coach early on? Were you figuring this out mostly yourself, or did you find someone?
You were asking the best questions, really.
Because people, like, again, I don't need to cut you off. People see this and they're like, man, this dude has 60 employees. Like, he's got it figured out. But also the dude's been doing it since 2008. Like, so you see the success now, but he's gone through, I have gone through so much shit to get to where we're at today, right? But I went out there, found the coach. I found someone to teach me the right ways. Tell me how you figured it out.
So we didn't make our first million. It took us 9 years to make our first $1 million with Lajaunie's. Okay. And that was the hardest thing that I ever done, is going from 0 to 1 million. It took 9 years. Very difficult. No coaching. I was young, full of ego, and thought I knew everything. And man, it was probably the hardest part of my life. And most entrepreneurs, man, if you go into it, do it, but it's hard. I often say, if I knew how hard it was, I might have not done it. My ignorance was my bliss. But one of the most impactful things I ever did is my wife came on. We joined a mastermind group and started learning from the mastermind group. Got around other people having success, learned from them, and then was open-minded enough to listen and actually do what they told me, and realize that they were smarter than me, because they were, and start implementing some of the things that these other very successful companies were doing. And now from there, we make it our business to go to these, like we were in Tampa at Energy, we go to Pest World. We stay around people that are learning, and we're constantly learning. And we didn't always, but today, yes, now I do have I have an EOS coach. I have a business coach. I do have coaches, right? And we listen to them. And no way we'd be doing what we're doing or where we're at without having surrounded ourselves with people that were doing bigger things than us, and bringing in a coach and having open-mindedness to listen and do some of these things that these coaches are telling us. It was a big part of our success.
And I love that because sometimes pride can be expensive, right? And I see a lot of these business owners, like you said, old school, super prideful. They know the ways, they don't want to change, and they're stuck at 250, 500,000 revenue. They never break through that. But it's having the willingness to say, hey, I don't know. I need help. Let's reach out to some of these dudes who are actually doing it, which you did, obviously, and very proud of you for that. And just saying, hey, I'm actually going to implement what these guys teach me because they've been there and done it.
Yeah, I remember when they first talked to me about, because we were old school too at first, right? We were monthly, and we were not getting cards on file. Just everything that you do when you're young, you don't know any better. And I remember even being so scared and thinking, man, I can't switch my customers to quarterly. I can't ask my customers for a card on file. It was all fear. Fear is a liar, right? As a matter of fact, I've been there so many times now that when I hear these things, even though they scare me, I run towards what scares me. And my blessings are on the other side of running towards the scary stuff. So I don't let the fear stop me anymore. Does that make sense?
I couldn't agree more. Like, you always have those, you have the one little guy in your shoulder telling you not to do something. You have the other guy, the little voice in their side saying, go after it. I tend to lean on the guy that says, don't go do it. Because I know that's my little bitch voice, quote unquote. Like, lean into that guy. And it as hard as it may sound, and it seems it's true, but that's where you get your confidence from, those small little wins.
Yes, sir.
What is and everything looks shiny and great now, but what are some of the biggest challenges Lajaunie's ever been through, or maybe you on a personal level too?
So many challenges along the way, right? You're going to face all kind of challenges. Employee theft, right? You deal with that. Hiring your friends and family and not knowing what to do and losing a lot of friends along the way. No, really, right? They don't talk about that, but we all hire our friends and family, and you lose a lot of friends along the way.
I have a family member that I hired. I mean, very, very close relative, like as my brother. Don't talk to him anymore. Yeah.
And then the personal, I'm blessed to work with my wife. She's a big part of our success. I mean, she's incredible. She's an amazing tech. She's brilliant. She's amazing. Really, she is. But for many years, it was a huge challenge to negotiate our marriage and our personal life while simultaneously running a business together. Very challenging, right? Could have broke us several times, but through the grace of God and persistence, it's actually made us stronger today and a better marriage today. But getting to here, we could have easily not along the way, and that's real talk, man.
I'm assuming that you weren't always this faith-based, maybe young adult. When did you find faith, and when did you really start hitting that?
So I, even from a young age, I would say that faith, but I kind of got away from it for most my teenage years and into my 20s. So probably when I was about 20, about a year maybe after I started my company. I guess being an entrepreneur will drive you into leaning on your faith. I never really thought about it, but yeah, that's probably kind of it'll make you run to what you believe in.
That's super awesome. You talked a little bit, I don't mean to be switching gears all the time, but just my brain works that way. You talked about developing people, developing technicians, developing sales guys. Walk us through the process of how you onboard a technician and what that process to get them up to speed. And
so we hire and fire on our core values, and we have a poster on our wall with our core values. Yeah. And we hire and fire around that. We are very slow to hire and quick to fire. I know that sounds crazy because not that we want to fire quickly, but we have a process now. We do background checks. We do a personality test. We have a whole written out training process of, step 1, step 2, ABC, with our service managers signing off on competence as we go through it with the training. We are doing I think it's ADP training with our service managers right now, where they're riding with our technicians a lot. Long time to get there. We didn't always have that, but it really helps to have those systems in place. I think for many years we would hire people and I'd be frustrated because of a lack of performance. But I had to relook at myself. I really wasn't communicating and giving them the tools they needed to be successful. Just because I had done it for so long, it was very simple to me. I didn't understand somebody coming in, never having been in the industry. You know, we used to just throw somebody in a truck for 2 weeks and then cut them loose with a BNG, and I'd be mad that they wasn't doing stuff right, like really mad. I'd be like, what's wrong? How can you do that? So I had to do a lot of soul searching and own that I made a lot of mistakes as a young entrepreneur. And now we have systems in place that really helps the technician grow. And if they do grow, we're very big on helping them get their license, sending them to training. Once again, we invest heavy in people that are high achievers that are doing it. But we're also now pretty good at holding the people that aren't really on par, not investing a lot. And really, they kind of get off our team because a lot of times they quit on their own because we've created a culture of excellence, and they'll literally start to feel uncomfortable around a bunch of other excellent people if they're not performing to that level.
Yeah. Have you ever heard I'm sure you have, called top grading? Just constantly bring in people that are really good and get rid of the lower people.
It's so funny that you say that, because once again, that's hard for me. I'm a people person, but I have an inside sales manager on my leadership team that I told her that principle, and it went like this. I said, I read this thing about where you cut the lowest 2 performing people on your team. It gives you a higher performing team. I was like, but I really don't like that. I was like, that's kind of harsh. It's not something I want to do. Well, she did it anyway. And although I still am kind of conflicted by the practice, to be quite transparent, if the proof's in the pudding, we have a very high performing inside sales team. And I'll just, I'm not saying do it or don't do it, but that's the story. That's a real story. That's what happened.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the biggest impact on our industry in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, man. I think the roll-ups that are happening, all the small mom and pops being rolled up, is going to have an impact in ways. Yeah, it's going to have impacts in ways that we don't know yet. I think AI, as far as being used for marketing, for call centers, I think virtual assistants, VAs, being used in the Philippines is going to really start to have a huge impact on our industry. And then legislation, if we don't watch it, I think that there's a lot of laws coming down the pipe that, if they actually pass, can change our industry in some very different ways.
Yeah, and I think I don't mean to call California out here, right?
No, let's do it. Let's call out California. Let's go.
Let's talk through that. So a few years ago, they banned certain products that the technicians can't use. So let's go with mice and rats for one. And they can't use bait outside anymore. Can't use bait at all. And go ask any person that lives in California how the rat and mice population is. Ask any technician, ask any business owner. Like, it is absolutely insane.
I heard that. I didn't know that for sure, but I did hear that they had cut out rodenticide, and that the homeless population, they had like literally a plague of sickness and illness run through the homeless population, because the rodent population had gotten so bad they weren't able to control it, and it was causing a lot of disease.
So can't we use California as an example of what not to do in many areas of the world? But California is the biggest one right now. Let's not copy that.
Yeah, let's do the opposite of what they do.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're U-Haul's number one state, right? Like, everyone's moving out of there, moving to Florida or Texas. I don't need to get too political, but there's reasons why, right? What else do you see coming down the pipeline? You got AI, you have certain products that we can't use. These roll-ups, like you said, definitely happening with the private equity firms. Is that good or bad for us?
I think it can be good depending on how you have what your mindset is on it. I think not just in our industry, but in small business in general, there's a loss of doing I don't want to say integrity, but like having like a culture, like it's getting corporate with a bunch of companies, right? I think convenience is king, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for mid-level or small operators to bring a level of service that these roll-ups, not just in pest control, but in AC and all kind of other industries, it's happening. It's going to give us a unique opportunity. All those big companies are going to become corporate. They are super data-driven, and although I agree with being data, there's a certain size company that you still can, know things that those corporate companies are going to lose. And I believe it's going to give us an area where we can exploit if we have the right mindset on it. So that, so we'll be able to interact with our customers and know and see things and move faster than a lot of these giant companies are going to be able to do.
For sure. How often do you get hit up?
So I'm in a mastermind group that was in Tampa, and I'm in there with some guys, some of them smaller than me, some of them bigger than me. And they all are like, yeah, we're getting hit up by P&Es and we're getting emails every day of people wanting to buy us. I tell you the truth. I'm not lying, Jonas. I've never been asked, talked about, or approached by P&E or asked to bought out in my career ever, not once. And I'm cool with it, but when I'm around some of these my friends, I'm like, man, are we doing something wrong? And I don't think we are. I just, it's never happened. But I know it's happening to a lot of my friends.
I'm one of them. It's an email or a phone call once a week, if not twice, over and over and over. It's like,
yeah, we don't. And maybe it's my market. We're in Southeast Louisiana. We have a lot of, hurricanes and floods, and there's a lot of, a lot of hoops down here. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a great market. And you kind of talked about it a little bit in the very beginning, but what does the next 5 years look like for Lajaunie's? I know you have some big goals, some BHAGs, but for the next 5 years, what is that going to look like for you?
Yeah, so we do have some big goals. We're trying to grow. We have a growth mindset, and we don't have any intention of selling. That's not because you grow a company one way if you're planning to sell, another way if you're not, and you have to know which one you're doing.
From day one, when I started this company, when I sold my last one, that was the number one question that my mentor asked me. Are you growing this to keep it, or are you growing it to sell? In whichever way you decide, it's fine, but they're both going to be grown separate. Two different ways.
Absolutely. So we're growing to keep right now. We're just focused on growth, and we're going to be expanding within the next 5 years into 2 other markets. We're going to be expanding eventually into the Gulf Coast of Mississippi and into another market in Louisiana.
Cool. Have you thought through how you're going to open in those markets? Are you going to send a sales guy there? Are you going to send technicians there? Are you going to buy a small company? What's your thought?
Man, so we've expanded into territories in the past, and we've done it.
We talked about this a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we've done it different ways, and as you learn, as you do, and so in the future, as we expand, we're going to do it different than what we've done in the past because we've learned. So in the future, if possible, we'll look to make small acquisitions. But in my experience so far, that can be very difficult. I've tried to make several small acquisitions. I've never been able to put one together. And I know that you do have to go through a lot of deals sometimes before you get one because it has to be the right culture, the right fit. You don't just want to buy anything or it can be a disaster. It has to be the right company. So if that's an opportunity that presents itself in the future, I'd love to have that opportunity. But if that doesn't happen, then we're going to start by getting a physical building in the location we want to go. We're going to focus in on our digital marketing. We're going to hire somebody that lives in that town. We're going to have our infrastructure support it. We're going to do door knockers, mass mailers. I mean, we're going to do it the way we know to do it, and we're going to pray it because it takes some prayer to go into a new market. We'll do all those things
for sure, and I couldn't agree with you more. If you were looking for a company to buy, would you look for sub 1 million, like around the 650, 700,000, or would you go bigger?
I had a mentor tell me one time, and I believe him. He said it takes just as much energy and time to do a small deal as it does to do a big deal. So obviously I can't buy a $30 million company because I just can't. But honestly, I would want to look for 1 to 5 million would be in my range of what I wouldn't want to do anything less than $1 million because I know how much hard work and time and effort it is to even do an acquisition. And, anything less than $1 million, I wouldn't entertain it. That's just my personal, how I feel.
Very smart. And I would agree with you. Again, my mentor said the same thing. We look at a lot of deals, like it seems like 1 or 2 a week, but they're all roughly the same size, nothing ever of size. And it takes just as much work and money as it does to buy something bigger than smaller. And it'll take more time getting these two companies to merge together as a smaller company because, again, they don't have a leadership team. They have probably had a technician or the owner does most of the work. So, yeah, you're not wrong. Cool. I know you're a reader, and we always end the podcast. Like I said, we've already been on this thing an hour, and it feels like we're just flying by. Besides the Bible, what have been 2 of the most impactful books that you've read?
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And then when I first started my sales career, I got big into Zig Ziglar. So see you at the top, anything by Zig Ziglar. But there's so many books, man, that I've read that's been impactful. But off the top of my head, just being put on the spot, that Dale Carnegie and Zig Ziglar was real impactful to me as a young salesman.
Yeah, I love that. Great books, both of them. The last question for you of the day. You probably haven't listened to the podcast. You don't know what's coming, and I like it. What are you most proud of?
Right now, what I'm most proud of right now, honestly, is what I've been able to do to actually pull myself out of my company and grow myself, because I do have ambitions to continue to grow. And it was very difficult for me to step out of my business and start to work on me, which I believe is very necessary for me to be able to grow my company where I want to go. I believe a lot of times our company will only grow as much as you're willing to grow yourself.
The law of the lid.
If we're not willing to grow ourselves, we'll cap where we're at. And for me, being a founder, being in the day-to-day for so many years, and honestly having a lot of ego, it was very difficult for me to even be in this position where, like, today I woke up, I did my workout, I didn't even call any of my managers today. I'm trying to be focused on other things and manage in a different way and having a lot of self-growth. And it was very difficult for me. So I'm very proud of myself for having been able to do that, and really excited to see where we're going to go with me willing to do this in the future.
That's awesome. Jared, you have definitely some big things ahead of you. I'm proud of you. I just got to know you. Again, we didn't get to chat a lot, but you're absolute stud. And I look forward to see what you're going to do. I know you'll hit your goals because you're just very determined and smart. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you.
I got to come on your podcast more often. You're making me feel like just to come get some affirmation. Thank you, Jonas.
Absolutely. But again, when people got it when you talk to them, and you got it, dude. And that's what it takes.
Thank you so much. That's flattering coming from you. I know you just met you, but a lot of people that I'm in the industry know you and also talk well about you. So it's an honor, man. And coming from you, it's sincerely, thank you. I really do appreciate that.
Cool. Well, again, Jared, thanks for your time. I appreciate you spending the last hour with us, and you dropped a lot of bombs. So I appreciate it.
All right, Jonas. You have a great day, man. Thank you again.